Welcome back to Total Football. Manchester City just 2 games away from writing themselves into the history books with a potential treble in their sights. Before those 2 finals, they've got to play Brentford in their final game of the season. Sani Rajavajula joins us live right now. Sani, you were in that news conference with Pep Guardiola and asked him about the story that really has been dominating Spanish football, the racism around engulfing Vinicius Jr, the Real Madrid forward. How did you respond to the way that Pep Guardiola answered that question?
Well, you know, he sometimes gives quite curt and quite short answers. In fact, you know, when we asked him about the game itself against Brentford, he was very short indeed. But, you know, Pep Guardiola is a legend at Barcelona as a player and, of course, as a manager. He knows La Liga really well. So asking him to reflect on this huge story, this racist abuse that Vinicius Jr suffered at Valencia last Sunday, and the reaction around that, I thought was maybe the right place to go. And this is what he had to say about it.
They should. Here they are so strict, but they know what they have to do, and of course the racism is a problem everywhere, and not specific in one specific place. And everywhere we are, I would say, but educated, thinking that you are better than our neighbors, or we are better than the other one. What we come from all generations, for everywhere. So our ancestors or our own people come from migrants, come from wars, from dictatorships that you have to move on in our countries, and after, you know, we build the families there, and after come back where you were born, and the society is like that. But the problem is racism is in everywhere, but not just for the gender or for the color, for the attitudes. Like we believe that our country is better than the other one, our language is better than the other ones, and as much you fly, as much you know, you are in a board, you are in other countries, you realize we are the same, with the same fears, with the same good things. It's just a question to accept the diversity like a strength as a human being. And still right now we are far, far away from that, really far away from that. But hopefully it can be one step to getting better in Spain, but I'm not really optimistic. Knowing a little bit the country, I'm not really optimistic.
So that's what Pep Guardiola had to say on the racist abuse directed towards Vinicius Jr. One of the key things there, you know, saying that La Liga could learn from the Premier League and how strict or the reaction of the Premier League is whenever any racism crops up in our game over here in England. You know, beyond that, of course, Pep Guardiola is preparing his side for this Brentford game, which is, if you like, a warm-up game before 2 huge finals, an FA Cup final against Manchester United, and then, of course, that huge one against Inter Milan in the Champions League. He said there's every player is potentially still available for him to pick. He's going to try and pick the strongest team he can against Brentford. You know, he was asked about, I asked him in particular perhaps whether this is a game where some of the fringe players might be able to audition for a place in the squads for either of those games. He was quite kind of short in his answer there, but he did say that he's expecting players to be knocking on the door of his managerial office and maybe coming to him and saying, you know, get me in that squad. And there's a number who can do that. Julian Alvarez being one, 17 goals this season. We could see him come in. Phil Foden, of course, got the goal against Brighton in the last game. So there's lots of players who are wanting to get part of that team, and Pep Guardiola has got that brilliant headache of a selection headache ahead of 2 huge games in what's a massive 3 weeks here at Manchester City.